Okay, it's 5:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to start by acknowledging that this meeting is respectfully held on the traditional territory of the Sycas First Nation, on whose land we live, work, and play. You have an agenda in front of you. I would like to add under correspondence, FPS Nickel and the exhibition grounds, both letters of support. Would somebody like to move as adopted, as amended? Seconder? All in favor? Carried. You have the minutes from January 22nd. Would somebody like to move adoption? Seconder? Anything coming out of the minutes? All in favor? Carried. We don't have any bylaws, so we'll go straight to delegations. BC Hydro electric vehicle charging stations. I'll let you guys introduce yourself and then take it from there.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Molly Brewis, and I'm joined here today by Ali. We're both part of the BC Hydro electric vehicle service delivery team, coming to you from Vancouver. And we've been working with Willeen on this proposal, and we're pleased to be here to present it to you today. We understand that you have had a preview of the slides in your package, so we won't touch on everything, but we do want to just run through our presentation briefly here. So I'll ask Ali to share his screen with our slides. Great, thank you. So we're here to discuss a strategic partnership on EV charging with the District of Vanderhoof, of course. The agenda for what we'll cover today is a little bit about the broader context of the Clean BC plan and what the province has asked us to deliver on in terms of electric vehicle charging, our mission to achieve geographical connectivity or an electric highway across the province, the advantages of partnering with BC Hydro. We know this is a competitive marketplace and there are other players out there, so we just want to bring some of the advantages of our program. We'll show you some photos of example sites so you get an idea of what a site within your municipal boundaries may look like. And then we want to get to the sort of the meat of the presentation, which is discussing our preferred site option with District of Vanderhoof and the approval that's required from you today and the next terms of our schedule. And of course, there will be time for question and answers. So in terms of our role in electrifying transportation, the government of BC has set a target for 100% zero emission vehicle sales by 2035. And our mission in this is to build out a reliable, convenient, and affordable EV charging network to support drivers across BC, regardless of the model or make of their electric vehicle and the location that they live. We are, of course, the primary energy supplier to transform the energy emission sector, and we want to interconnect with other public EV service providers to expand the distribution system as well. And we play a role in education, supporting EV adoption with awareness, residential charging programs, public charging, and fleet programs. We're really here today to talk about our public charging program in particular. Our geographical connectivity goal is to, as I mentioned, build out that electric highway across the province and enable EV drivers to have confidence when they're taking a road trip, either north to the Yukon or east to the Alberta border. So with that, we require a fast EV charging station within a minimum of 150 kilometers. And you can see here we have currently a gap in that service area between Prince George and Burns Lake, which is where Vanderhoof comes in. So in terms of our partnerships, we are looking to achieve our 2030 objective that the province has mandated us with of building out 3,000 charging ports. So to accomplish that, we work with site hosts and we invest all the capital and operating costs. So we will completely fund the construction and installation of the stations and take care of the operation of them throughout their lifetime. We are looking to partner with site hosts to demonstrate sustainability and climate action leadership, of course. It's an important part of the puzzle. We importantly provide technical and maintenance support 24/7. So we don't expect you to have customers knocking on your door. We've got a phone call. We're a phone call away for any troubleshooting that's required. And something else to keep in mind is that we're working to keep rates as low as possible for all of British Columbians. So this is not a profit-driven service that we're providing. It's simply on a cost recovery basis. And as I mentioned, our chargers are accessible to all EV drivers, regardless of the make of their vehicle. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ali. He's got a few example sites here, and then he'll get into the details on the location that we've looked at in Vanderhoof specifically.
Thank you so much, Molly, and nice to meet everyone. Molly did a great job because I'm the one clicking through and she's trying to time it to whatever I'm showing. So well done, Molly. What I'm sharing here is just a couple examples of what our sites look like. So right off the bat, you'll see, regardless of where they are, they're always surrounded by these bollards to protect the equipment and, of course, provide a safe kind of offset from vehicles. There is always a lighting standard that we kind of add to certain locations if there isn't adequate lighting. And of course, we will paint and properly outline the area. If I show you a few more, you'll quickly notice that the fast charging stations here are dual port. So one station can charge up to 2 vehicles. That's why on the far right here in South Surrey, you'll see there's one station right in between 2 different spots. Kind of adjacent to that, you will see there is, if you follow my little laser pointer here, I know you're in a big room. So this is a kiosk. This is kind of what they would look like when they're placed next to the equipment. One more quick slide here is another station, kind of more of a close-up, so you can see what a pull-in orientation looks like with the station on the side. And on the right is another electrical kiosk. So moving on to site selection and what makes for a good site. So we start off looking for at least 8 charging ports with additional room for future expansion. We want 24/7, 365 days public access. So because we have a lot of grant funders, these are requirements they've kind of set for us in terms of what needs to be done to qualify. We make sure the site is safe, well lit, because there's 24/7 access, and because while a lot of folks will be visiting the sites that the EV stations are located at, a lot of folks will be coming after hours just as a pit stop. Perhaps you're driving through the city or need to charge up and it's late at night. We want to make sure it's nice, safe. Ideally, it's close to amenities, a washroom, and some sort of a shop nearby. Close to transportation corridors, just so it's accessible. A 10-year lease with option to renew. So that's the format of our typical agreement. And finally, constructability. We want to make sure the site has adequate power. We can actually reach wherever the stations are, and there's no major utility conflict or sewer drainage around. So throughout Vanderhoof, we've looked at a bunch of different sites. The first is the Tourism and Cultural Center. This is our ideal site, and this is the one I'll be showing you just on the next slide. We also looked at Burrard and Columbia, right next to the RBC. This could be a potential future site. There are more utilities in the area, so it's not as clean of a site as I should say as the Tourism and Cultural Center, but it is a good potential expansion site. Burrard and Riley near 7-Eleven, there's just too many utility conflicts running exactly through the parking stalls themselves. So with the depths we need to go to for these higher charging, these higher capacity level 3 charging stations, we wouldn't be able to install them there. And finally, we also looked at Burrard and Church, that the large lot south of the post office, and that one was kind of crossed off our list due to safety concerns. Just we wouldn't be able to provide the safety and kind of clear sight we would usually expect from our sites. Okay, and with that, I will show you a site layout. So this is a bird's eye view. And what you're looking at here is the EV stations in green. And we have a total of 8 stations shown here. And of course, based on your feedback, we can kind of add more now, and we can also add more in the future as an expansion. These blue spots here are the existing flow chargers. These are level 2. So this is one where it would take about 6 hours to charge, whereas the level 3s are between 20 to 40 minutes to have a full charge. We've got some kiosks on site, and this is just to power everything, and of course the PMT. And typically in an urban kind of a charging station area, we get 20 to 30% utilization today, as some of our areas reach 40% utilization. Now, saying that number the first time I read it, that felt kind of small. But when you realize that's split across a 24-hour period, pretty much all waking hours of a day means someone's actively charging. Now, I understand those are kind of numbers are weighted due to the lower mainland having a majority of the chargers, but we're seeing similar kind of increasing uptakes in other areas. And Molly, I'll give it back to you for just a summary and some next steps.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. The one other thing I wanted to mention is that many of you are likely aware that we've been in discussions with the landowner at the McDonald's in town over installing an EV fast charging station there. Unfortunately, those discussions just have not progressed over the span of 2 years and are currently still a bit stalled out. So this is why we're actively pursuing an alternate option with you folks today. We're still pursuing that in parallel, and we hope that we'll be able to build out both stations in the future. So in terms of the approval that's required today, and of course I'll take guidance from Willeen or others on exactly how this will go, but the things that we're looking for is confirmation that you approve the fast charging site location at the preferred location that we've put forward there at the Cultural Center. Secondly, confirmation of the total number of EV designated parking stalls. And then thirdly, that we, BC Hydro, would work with district staff to iron out the final layout details. So there may be some tweaks to be made in terms of where the electrical equipment is best situated and a formal agreement that will have to be signed, but we would take that away and work that out with staff. In terms of our scheduling, we do have a very aggressive schedule because the province of BC has asked us to complete this geographic connectivity by this summer of 2024. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of design work and construction planning that goes into that. So to move forward, we would ideally target having the license agreement signed by the end of this month, construction happening sometime this spring, and the station to be in service. This is, an ideal target of June 30th, 2024. And with that, we'll take your questions and discussion.
Questions, anybody? Councillor Frankel.
Brian Frankel here. Aggressive time frame for sure. And I know your stats said you're 20 to 40% usage in your spots currently, and you said that's probably weighted heavy to the lower mainland. How about, do you have any stats for the top 2/3 of the province, say from 100 Mile House north? I think everybody in the province wants to do better, but I think, I just don't know how many, tourists are going by with electric vehicles, and trying to figure out whether or not that's going to take off in northern British Columbia. We struggle with that all the time. Everybody wants to do better, but that's the struggle we see. So are we trying to capture just the people going through town then? Is that what you're trying to do by putting it there? Or
to be frank, we're not too concerned with the utilization of this station right now. In other locations where we have different options to choose from, we are concerned with where would we get the best utilization. But for this, we're looking at if we build it, they will come kind of thing. And so we want EV drivers to have the confidence that they can drive on a road trip through the province and not be stuck somewhere without a charge, getting a tow, like all of these stories that you hear in the news, right? So this is why the government has tasked us with building out this electric highway as a high priority item. And it's really about filling in all those gaps every 150 kilometers, more so than the utilization right now. Of course, we hope that in the future, when people realize that they are able to drive on those road trips, that more and more people that will see the EV uptake increase commensurate with that. So we are looking for people that are just driving through town. We're also hoping that will encourage locals to buy an EV as well, because they'll have a spot to charge in town that takes, as Valley mentioned, 20 to 40 minutes instead of 4 to 6 hours.
Thanks, Ernest Martins here. I was just following up on Councillor Frankel's comment there with the 20% usage in the lower mainland and less up here where we are for probably for quite a while yet. To have as many as you're kind of looking at here is kind of using all the prime parking in that whole parking lot, isn't it? Like any event that happens in our town in that area, that's where everybody parks. And suddenly that's going to cause, I think would cause a bit of a parking issue. Because, you know, if nobody's charging, they're still empty. So I think that has to be considered too. I don't know if you're getting pushback anywhere else you're looking in other towns or whatever, but to use prime parking location for that.
That's certainly a consideration. We're open to the feedback that you may have on that. We are going a bit more aggressive only because, as you can likely appreciate, it costs us a substantial amount of capital to construct and implement these stations, right? So just all the construction work, bringing the service connection, and then the stations themselves, all of this is costing, you know, on the order of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So for that reason, we are trying to make each construction project sort of worthwhile in terms of the number of stalls that we construct. We are open to a phased approach where we put some in, we have the electrical infrastructure in place to be able to expand in future so that you can kind of gauge how high the utilization is and if it's warranted, and maybe we wait a couple of years down the road and then you see the demand is increasing. We've just had a few locations where we've only installed a couple chargers and literally 1 month later they're sending us a photo saying there's a lineup for them. So we want to avoid that situation when we've just gone in and opened up the ground. So do you have any specific feedback for us in terms of now, Ali is showing the figure here in terms of how many stalls you think would be sort of an optimal number to donate or to allocate to EV charging?
Did you want to answer that, Councillor Martins?
Yeah, sure. I think from my perspective, I certainly have no idea how many it would take. That would be 100% guess if I did that. So that's not fair to use a guess to answer that question. I just think that I can appreciate, like you said, the amount of time and effort and expense you're putting in to put them in. The majority of people here for the next 10 years aren't going to feel like that. They're thinking the parking stall is worth more than what it cost BC Hydro. Just a general feeling from the public.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Laze. But I will just add, 8 is very unpalatable here, but really palatable at your second location. So just to give you some food for thought, that's community-wise probably a big deal.
Yeah.
Councillor Laze.
Yeah, and I guess that is kind of my question as well. So why that location? Because there's quite a large parking lot kind of behind the museum. Why right there in those prime parking spots? Why is that your first choice?
I can take that one, and that one comes down to safety really, and having a kind of a paved lot to work with. This is also much closer to our power because our overhead line runs along the roadway. And so we can pull power and have kind of a limited run through the property. Whereas going all the way to the lot in the back, it wouldn't be kind of economically feasible for us to make such a long trench. Nor would we really be able to feel safe asking folks to come there later on at night when no one's around to charge.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Young.
Yeah, I can definitely see why you'd actually make that choice because of the proximity to the highway and, you know, really tying it into our info center and those other pieces there. But I think over time, we definitely like to see it evolve into being more in some more stations in the downtown area to pull people into that. And you probably covered this, but I was kind of reading some of this as you were talking. I'm just wondering because I think 10 years from now, and it's already been mentioned, Councillor Martin's talked about this, we're going to see something different. And we already noticed that obviously, you know, the stations we have there, I don't want to say they're useless, but they really it's a big turnaround, as you already stated, in terms of charging. This tech that you're looking at putting in, what's the kind of like lifespan in terms of 3 years from now? Are we looking at these would be replaced, or in terms of their charging speed, et cetera. That's sometimes we look at that too, going, and that's not really our problem. You're putting those in, you're making that effort. So maybe it's a moot point because by then we're looking at another area, we're doing other pieces, and we have a better handle on really what the traffic is there. But I know someone will ask as you're putting in this dollars in that infrastructure, well, what's the lifespan on these, right? So
Yeah,
before you
it's a really good question. Yeah, it's a great question. I can start, and Ali, if you have anything to add, you can jump in. So first of all, once these are constructed, they go into the standard BC Hydro asset management pool, which is where all of our infrastructure lives, and we have a dedicated team of engineers and others tracking it, maintaining it, and analyzing when it's at end of life and needs to be replaced. And in fact, we're already at that point with some of the chargers that we've put in 7+ years ago. And so we do update with the more recent technology. As you can imagine, the technology on the EV charging side is rapidly changing. So we are ordering sort of the latest and greatest because our orders are procurement process is taking about 6 months for delivery now. So we're constantly keeping on top of that so that our next order is the best and the fastest chargers that are out there. So we do think that the lifetime of these would be, the reason we ask for the 10-year lease is that they would be 7 to 10 years. And of course, we would take care of replacing them when that time came. And the 20 to 40 minute time frame to charge is pretty appealing, I think, to people now, and will continue to be for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
In terms of number of stations, I think the minimum we would be able to do would be the 4 spots to the north of the flow chargers, and then potentially pre-duct south of that if the number of stalls being used at this time, if you wanted to see more utilization before you elected to expand to those locations.
Hi guys, Councillor Vandola here. One of the concerns I have is that, you know, it seems like the majority of the EV charging ports are kind of strictly geared towards smaller vehicles. We're not a small vehicle community. We're a pickup country, you know, and we have, you know, people in the community drive pickups and they also haul trailers. You know, in the summer, there's going to be pickups, you know, maybe a Ford Lightning pulling a travel trailer. And I don't see any accommodation for vehicles that'll be, if we're going to be trying to bolster our tourism industry to accommodate those, because if we have an F-150 pulling a 25-foot trailer, there's nowhere there for them to go. Where if I was king for the day, it'd be across the street in our Stewart Square or our Spirit Square, where it's on the highway. There's lots of room for a wide variety of vehicles. It's not going to conflict with our museum parking. You know, if I was that's where I would go. But that's a major concern for me. And when I first read through this document, I'm going like, holy smokes, you know, they're not even going to consider, you know, larger truck traffic, because as time goes, we're going to be shifting to those bigger vehicles, but we're certainly not accommodating them. And I was just worried that that's you know, an urban thing, you know, because not very many urban people dwelling in the Lower Mainland don't drive big pickup trucks.
Yes, fair point. And we definitely consider that. And we do understand that folks in the interior and the north are driving larger vehicles and wanting to have the capacity to tow. As you alluded to, that does take significantly more space. So we have the pull-through options that Ali showed on some of the photos there, which are more like the standard gas station layout that you pull in and you continue on. Those would just take a bit more space. So that's something to consider for sure. It's something too where it seems like the uptake of EVs for the larger trucks and towing is lagging behind the small vehicles. So we're looking at that always as an expansion, a future possibility for sure. Maybe that's something that will become more palatable and of more interest to the community in 2 or 3 years down the road. And then we have sort of the proof of concept of having this station, and then you've got interest from folks and we add that in afterward. That is definitely something that we're open to providing though.
Thank you.
William's just checking on it, but if you look on your map right now, you see the lot in the top right corner?
The triangle shaped?
Nope, top right
the
corner.
top. Okay.
You just see
here?
this corner?
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're just checking the mapping system to confirm, but we believe that that belongs to the District of Vanderhoof as well. Is that
Okay.
somewhat you would consider that could be, again, could be a potentially pull-through location as well, right? We're just loading the
Yeah.
mapping software here.
Okay, okay, I'll give you a minute there. Yeah, I mean, subject to all of those considerations that we have in terms of checking proximity to power, which would be similar here, I suppose, and then the utility conflicts and those kinds of things. It looks like it's just maybe is it just a gravel undeveloped
Yeah.
lot or, okay.
Yeah. Okay, we can't pull that up right now, but maybe something that we could look into and we can go forward. That doesn't give you an answer tonight, but
Okay.
something to go there. My question would be, if we do struggle with this location, would the RBC location be an acceptable location?
Ellie, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it does show promise. There are some utilities in the area along the roadway, and I think the answer is yes. We could likely make it work. Of course, that's subject to some final utility locates being done to finalize the location of some of those utilities to make sure we have the adequate clearances we need. But otherwise, I think it could be done. Yes. And
good. Okay, Councillor Bulmer, I didn't see you there. Sorry.
Sorry, following up on Councillor Councillor Tom Bulmer here. Following up on Councillor Vandola's thing on Spirit Square, I was also going to ask about that corner piece, but then Willeen and Kevin went in. That is up in that area as well. Have you guys looked at that at all?
It's a brownfield and would need rehabilitation.
We can't do it. Okay, thank you. That's what.
Yeah, we are trying to avoid that kind of thing just because of the obvious added cost and schedule implications.
Any other questions? Thank you. I guess actually the last one I will do is I do have some questions from staff. Some of the items in the contract, hopefully they could be negotiated to make it work for a smaller community. And I think we can have that conversation going on, right? Some things like snow removal, could that be as per our snow removal policy and some of those things just to clean things up.
Yes, we're absolutely open to working with you on those things.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. And yeah, if we can check back with Willeen in the morning, we will get that all sorted out for you.
Okay.
To look at that other location.
Okay. And just to reiterate, we are open to expanding to other locations in the future too, always. So if we go forward with something here, it doesn't mean that all other options are off the table forevermore, right? So we can always think about that phased approach if we have something that we can move forward with more quickly, even on a smaller scale with just 4 stalls, and then we phase something else in as a second option. We're open to that as well. But we'll wait to hear back from Willeen then. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, okay, perfect. Mayor, Council, thank you so much for inviting me here tonight for the annual report of the RCMP Vanderhoof. Currently, our staffing levels are the same as last year. 14 regular members are assigned to the detachment, and the breakdown is as follows. 10 constables, so frontline constables. We have 1 constable that is funded under the community tripartite agreement.
with the Sycus First Nation. We have 2 corporal NCOs and 1 staff sergeant. Currently, as far as staffing levels are concerned, we have 1 hard vacancy due to transfer and 1 soft vacancy due to an LWAP situation. In addition, we have 1 cadet that's in field training. So you can basically subtract 3 members from the total of 14 there. And of course, that is not too bad when you consider they are temporary. There's only 1 hard vacancy, and we expect to get the hard vacancy filled within the next few months. So that's good. As usual, in reporting for our annual performance plan for the 2023 year, the annual performance plan is completed by each RCMP detachment, which identifies strategies to address areas which have been deemed a priority within the detachment. So these plans are based on the fiscal year cycle, so April 1st to March 31st, but it doesn't include 2023. Many of the strategies are multi-year, so they turn over from year to year, and you'll see that some are much the same as last year, but there are some differences, and I'll get into that as we go. So Vanderhoof's priorities, we have 5, which I'll touch on here. The first one, which is the same as last year, is enhanced road safety. And this is done primarily through traffic enforcement, through violation tickets, notice and orders or warnings, and impaired driving enforcement initiatives. So we partner sometimes with ICBC as well to conduct traffic initiatives, not only enforcement, but education as well within the schools and wherever we can to also forward the priority. Last year, when I came to council and asked for your input for the APP, you mentioned that you determined it was an issue on Burrard Avenue. So we have stepped up our enforcement on Burrard Avenue. And I think primarily we were talking about crosswalks and that sort of thing as well. So members are very aware that that council has concerns in those regards. The second priority is contributing to relationship building with Indigenous communities or reconciliation initiatives. So one of the initiatives within that is participating in cultural events. So whenever possible, we step up to ensure that we can take part in cultural events on the Sycus Reserve. There's a new IPS member. So now Corporal JR gone. He was the IPS member for the last few years. He's recently been promoted, which to our ranks. He's one of our two corporal NCOs, which is fantastic. So he's able to, with his knowledge, he's able to still oversee Sycus, and it's really good to have that relationship still there. Our new IPS member, being Constable Mike Giesbrick, he's been transitioning into the role and doing well. And again, establishing those relationships are key, as you know. The restorative justice program, I know Willeen took it and several other members. We had members and other people in the community take it back in the spring of 2023. This is something that we're working on. It's a work in progress as far as getting trained is one thing, but to actually get cases to the table to facilitate those cases is another thing. Obviously, you have to have agreement on both sides, being the offender and the victims, and that's not always possible, but that option is there, and it's a great option and alternative to the justice system. One positive is we've recently had Crown Council show some interest in RJ for Sycus Reserve. So we're actually in the process of meeting with Sycus band leadership to utilize that as well there, which is great. So the third priority is better responding to mental health and addiction issues. We've we've been meeting quarterly with Northern Health, and it's great because we're getting the conversation, keeping the conversation going when it comes to identifying individuals in the community who are most vulnerable. And obviously, the more communication there, the better we can talk about addressing the needs of the community when it comes to people at risk. So that is ongoing, which is positive. They can reach out to us if they need help and assistance to address a certain individual in the community, and vice versa. Obviously, there's the confidentiality piece, which we all are very aware of and take that into account. Crime reduction is the fourth. So that's identifying and targeting prolific offenders, including drug traffickers in the communities that we serve. And that's something that's important to us for sure. The fifth and final priority is in the workplace. It's to do with the workplace, which is important. And we continue with our quarterly detachment meetings. So the communication is there with our people on the ground, as well as our employees, all of our categories of employees. Transparency and accountability from management, I believe in that, and that is the goal, the ultimate goal. And we have our wellness initiatives. One of the things that was recently came online here in the RCMP is it's called the Proactive Support Response Team. So we used to do more, like when there'd be a critical incident, we would have a CISD, a critical incident stress debriefing. That is, they've reevaluated that. Not that that's not important, and not that that's a valuable piece, but we now have a team who actually reaches out to each individual, and they're through the province, and that's just great because they get on it right away, and it's on an individual basis, whereas the CISD was more on a group basis usually. I'll talk now about our stats. So the first graph there is a total year comparison between 2019 and 2023 when it comes to criminal code cases for the year. You will see that 2023, there was a significant increase in criminal code cases for the detachment. You'll see that there was 338 more criminal code case files in 2023 as compared to 2022, which is significant, yeah. The overall calls for service are in line with last year's totals. So, and in fact, when you look at a 5-year, at the last 5 years, it is on the lower end. That being said, though, the serious calls are up. Some of those we'll get into here with the next graph. So assaults, you'll see we're up 2023 over 2022. B&Es, break-in enters, the same, 36 to 19. And mischiefs, so that could be vandalisms, that sort of thing, are up at 108 over 80. So those are significant. The other categories there are down, so cause disturbances, thefts, collisions, impaired driving cases, and theft of motor vehicle is up by 1. It's not mentioned on the graph here, but uttering threats files, we were up 20. We had 20 more files this year for uttering threats. And the frauds are about the same. Criminal harassment cases are about the same as well. So yeah, even though the criminal code cases are up, we still live in a very safe community, and it's not something for alarm in our view. The final graph there, so criminal code caseload per member, it always lags a year behind because the stats are taken, the data is taken from the Police Resources in British Columbia website. So in 2022, we had 67 as compared to the provincial average of 59 per member, criminal code caseload per member. So that is up, and it consistently is up. We're higher than the provincial average. And I suspect, especially with the increase in the criminal code caseloads here for the detachment, it'll be much the same. In fact, maybe more next year. Yeah, finally, the new building. We all eagerly anticipate that taking place for many reasons. But yeah, the estimation is 3.5 years, and that's not a confirmation, but that's about an estimate based on it being 4.5 years last year. Math is hard sometimes, but I got that one, yeah. That's true, that's true. So obviously, as if with every year, we're now in the consultation phase for our next annual performance plan. So I will be reaching out to council for their input on that. Thank you. Any questions?
Sounds good. Any questions for Staff Sergeant Day? Yeah, it is concerning that file number per member is very high, and I think it is good, and I think it's time that we probably revisit trying to lobby for more members again, right? And as well as that new building to house them in.
Yeah, yeah. No, that'd be fantastic for sure. We really appreciate the support. Yeah.
You bet. No questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm putting in an application with Northern Development Initiative Trust to get a couple of quick tourists. And what a quick tourist is kind of like a big iPad. And what it does is it has pictures that scroll through of the area of the businesses, and we can speed them up, slow them down. They can have QR codes on them so that people can go directly to the businesses' websites. There's also a chart where they can say want to go shopping, and they can pick out what kind of amenities they're looking for. We can pull up activities on it. Say you have a business with 3 different, like Country Cupboard. They've got 3 different businesses. They would have 3 different categories. Hotel like Homestead has 3 different businesses within one. They would be listed under 3 categories. It would be a income generator for the Chamber of Commerce, as we would charge for the advertising. And as time goes on, we would increase how we start at a lower rate to get people used to it. They can go on and look and see how many people are looking at their site through this program. We'd like to get 2 units. We'd like to have one at the Visitor Tourist Center during the summer months. And they're both portable units. The one, all you need is power and internet to run them. They would all be downloaded from the chamber, all the information on there. In the winter, we'd like to be able to place it at the arena, at the high school, if there's basketball tournaments going on, so that people can look and see what we've got. If somebody wants a special on there, we can certainly put that into it. And the other unit would probably be at the Chamber of Commerce office. But again, it would be portable as well. I'd like to get one standalone and one wall mounted. And as long as we can put different brackets up, we could do it in different places. A wall mounted might be better in like the arena during hockey tournaments. So we could probably bolt it or lock it to the wall to make it less walkable away. So that's what we're looking at. The total cost for the 2 units is $5,800. The yearly charge for the units is $1,600 a year. If we purchase it as a year, that we save about $150 if we get it over, pay the unit over the year, as opposed to, or each unit, as opposed to paying it monthly. Now, if we decide that it doesn't work during the winter months, we can go on a monthly plan and just pay for the 6 months that we're going to be using it. So there's no cost to us for the time that it's not being used. So. No money from the district. We're just looking for leather support. Yeah, resolution of support, sorry.
Councillor Franco?
Sorry, I'd like to just make that motion that we support this initiative. I'll let you guys figure that out.
Yeah.
I did have a quick question.
If we can get a seconder.
Oh,
Okay,
second.
yeah, no, you can.
Now,
go
a
ahead
quick
with the
question is, have you seen these, like looked at examples of these in other locations, in other towns, and they're
I haven't
working? or-
seen actual units in other towns. I have seen from their website what other towns have put on them, like what, I've seen what Revelstoke has on theirs. So another, not as small as us, but they have all the amenities on there that, the swimming pool, ours would be on the arena, ours would be on there, the bike park, the sporting association grounds, the exhibition, if they want to put on their fall fair, any information for it, it can go on there. People can go to fall fair, they get the hours, or when they do the rodeo, things like that can all go on to it.
What I was kind of wondering is how long have those been out there? Are they durable? Do they handle moving around the way you're planning to do? Because stuff like that is quite.
They're supposed to be fairly
delicate.
durable, but
Okay.
I haven't seen hands on a unit. But those,
Brand new technologies or?
no, it's been around for a while. Yep,
Okay.
they've been around for a while.
Councillor Martins.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, good idea, Shelley. I've seen them actually lots of places in hotel lobbies and you know, and if I'm standing there in line, I'm plunking away on it. You know, it's for sure. They're kind of on, at least the ones I was thinking of. They're standing on a, you know, standalone little kiosk and
Yep, a pedestal and
yeah, and it's just full of information. You don't have to be a high-tech guy to run it. It's just, you know.
yeah, it's
touchscreen
very
stuff. No,
simple
I
to
think
run it,
it's-
and you can have the things, your picture scrolling through slower or faster. Someone has a QR code.
Yeah.
We would obviously keep that picture on a little slower, give people time to take a picture of the QR code and go from there.
I even, when I saw it, I thought, what a neat idea. Because, you know, people are just, everybody's just going through your town right there, looking at that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
We don't need wording or anything. eh?
No.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, thanks. So we'll move on now to CAO reports. 6.1 Vanderhoof Accessibility Plan, and that's for adoption. You have a mover? Mover? Seconder?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. 6.2 Vanderhoof Procedures Bylaw Amendment, and that is for first, second, and third reading. We have a mover. Okay, seconder for Dave. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, 6.3 Airport Turn Pads Grant Application. This is to move the recommendation.
The recommendation is
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. 6.4 Arena Upgrades Grant Application. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll move.
Seconder? Any discussion? All in favor?
We have two separate,
Oh.
sorry, two separate
Oh.
resolutions. Since they go two separate.
Okay, so we'll have the second one. Do we have somebody make a motion? Seconder? Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, Councillor Items is next. First, we will go to the Housing Committee. Councillor Lozay.
You don't actually have to speak.
You don't have to speak to
You
it?
did
Okay.
once.
Oh,
I did speak at the last meeting.
okay, there we go. Okay, and then we have the special community forest board meetings. But we know that. What's that? Okay. Okay, so let's start with Councillor Frankel and we'll go around this way.
excellent. This is pretty rare for me to go first, Your Worship, so thank you. January 31st, we had the COM4 update. And we saw the FSP changes and I think we've heard there's a little bit of struggle there, but we're going to get there. And with the weather the way it is, hopefully we get some logging on our community forest and help support our local industry where we can. And hopefully it's sticks around a little longer. February 1st, Nechako Watershed Roundtable. There's been lots going on with the roundtable these days. We're going to talk about that later tonight, I think, too. But we're working on a climate resiliency framework and producing a workshop in and around our area in the summer on what we should be doing for adaptation. Everyone seems to focus on not adaptation, but mitigation. And while we need mitigation for sure, our temperatures in Vanderhoof have already skyrocketed 2.1 degrees since 1900, so we need to adapt and show how we're going to adapt. February 7th was mining day for myself. Met with the FPX Nickel. The mayor can talk a little bit more about that. And then we had the Blackwater Community Liaison Committee, and Councillor Vandola is part of that as well. I will say that on February 9th, the Environment Committee met. Pretty excited that we're moving forward, at least in flushing out a concept of food security, fiber utilization, and improvement in air quality. And that's just one big project. And that would help our local forest industry as well. So we're going to invite people to our next meeting to be part of that, the regional district and the folks at Sinclair, to talk about what our grandiose idea is. And I think it's pretty, for a small community, it'll be pretty cutting edge. And then today was the Nechako White Sturgeon Community Working Group meeting. June 7th is the sturgeon release. Mark that down. It's the 10th anniversary. So we will be inviting, and the mayor's already invited one, but there'll probably be 5 or 6 more that the mayor and the chair of that committee will invite, MLAs and premiers, just because it's an important anniversary. And with that, that's what I have. So.
Okay, no meetings, but I did get another, and this might be related to the Environment Committee from Jonathan Schultz with Conservation. They're still interested in coming in and talking about bear aware, so.
Definitely had that conversation, and will be invited in the March or April meeting. April meeting, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
March is the big project, our meeting, in April he's invited.
Is it? Okay, good, thank you. That was it.
Yeah, very little committee work for me. I had also attended the Confor, had a few folks from the Historical Society meet with me about some ideas, but nothing official. And that's about it for me. It's pretty quiet. No environmental things for me.
Yeah, like Councillor Franco, joined him at the Blackwater Community Liaison Committee. I'd like to thank Councillor Franco for his years of co-chairing that committee. He's stepping down because of his workload, and I'll take over as the lead for that group, and very happy to do so. Interesting enough, at that meeting, they showed a couple of actual videos of the construction that's undergone. So to date, pretty impressive what's happening out there. They also had some kind of some movie clips interviewing the different folks that are actually working down there, and they included a couple of Vanderhoof folks. So that was excellent to see. Very well done. They're 59% complete on the construction. They got 320 people working down there. Interestingly enough, they had a regional survey, and funny enough, 75% of those polled are very supportive of the project. And then, of course, they also talked to different ones across the province about 78% of the people area support the project, and 44% of people in Vanderhoof have a connection with somebody that's working at the project. So that was really great. And then as well at the Environment Committee, one of the things we did talk about on the Bear Smart program is that we want to make sure we get into a position where we become a Bear Smart community, because if the Conservation Officer Service has to destroy bears and we're not a Bear Smart community, then we will be forced to pay the cost of that disposal and whatnot. So it's in our best interest as a community to become Bear Smart. And that's it for me.
So as just as a member of the Vanderhoof Investment Cooperative, I attended their annual general meeting. They did have enough people there to have a quorum. There was only 10. There are 30 members of that group right now. Only 10 showed up, but they're having issues with their website and their Facebook page and getting them the message out. So not everyone showed up. They're working to do a showcase along with the Vanderhoof Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be kind of like a remote type trade show, and they're going to put it in conjunction with the big car show that's coming up in town as well. And so they're moving along, and they wanted to be a housing committee. The Vanderhoof Investment Cooperative, when they first got going, it was to be a housing committee, but they don't have the big bucks right now to lend to developers to continue on and do things like that. So they're basically trying to get people to know who they are, and they want people to invest in them, and that could lead to something. So they're going to start tagging onto things, getting people to know who they are, things like the car show, the fall fair, things like that. So I attended that on the 7th. On the 8th, of course, I was with Councillor Vandola and Councillor Frankel in the Environment Committee meeting. Our purple air monitors not doing exactly what we wanted them to do, I don't think. And Wayne did mention, though, that we do need the data from them, even though they're not as accurate and as pinpointy as we wanted. The radon is out there too. So yeah, and then Saturday night I went to the play, and it was great. So good on Richard and our entire community for that. I don't think there's a person in our town that over the 10 performances didn't make it there. So it was awesome. That's it for me.
Good, thanks. Not a lot from me either as far as community work stuff. I did, along with a few of us, attended the C2C meeting at Stony Creek, and I thought that was really good. It was good for me. I hadn't done that before, and I thought they were very open to saying what they mean when you're in their house, that kind of so I thought that was really good for sure. There was lots of things they talked about. One of the things that kind of just stuck out a little bit, and we can't do anything about it, but Rodney Teets, was talking about, I don't know the name of the fire he was talking about, but it's still smoldering. He saw that the other day, and so I mean, we can't control that obviously, but it's all in the back of our minds, for next summer for sure. And then I was going to say, same as Councillor Bomer just said to it, I attended the Children's Theatre. I had 2 or 3, I think I went to 3 performances, and can't beat my wife's record, but any one of us, and I think we were all there probably, actually, we feel pretty proud of that. We have something in our community, I think, that's really strong, and it's good for Vanderhoof. Like, everybody come out of there with a smile on their face and such a positive thing, which we all need in today's world. So just accolades to them and Richard and all of that. So I was proud of them too. Good. That's it for me.
Yeah, those holdover fires are going to be a real worry to look for as the snow leaves, right? Okay. Yeah. Good. I won't go through the entire meeting list. I do think we had a good C2C meeting. It was good to have a decent number of us there, but next one will be in Vanderhoof again. So we'll be looking forward to that. Talked with Megan Hunter, and this actually came out of I was at the community transition meeting in Fraser Lake a couple of weeks ago, and started a discussion there and followed it up with her. Looking between Vanderhoof, Fraser Lake, Burns Lake, Fort St. James, there's 18 LPN positions open. Ouch, but that's a cohort. So basically the prerequisite is graduating and having grade 12 math. So how do we reach out to people, either have your grade 12 math or get your grade 12 math and look, and that's a good paying job starts at 65K a year and accelerates for, 10 years or so, right? To get up to a full pay. So that was really interesting and working on how can we grow that resource ourselves, right? It's easier to grow those LPNs than it is to find them in. And we also were talking with some programs where they potentially could get a living allowance while they actually take that 2-year program. So, I mean, win-win-win. On the long-term care side, which is course of pressure, we have about 30 on the waiting list for long-term care here in Vanderhoof. When the new Fort St. James Hospital comes on board, that's going to have 18 beds open up there. So that could take a fair amount of that pressure off our facility here, right? So that's one encouraging thing with that hospital is that long-term care side. They're not all going to be elderly at the start. There's going to be a mix, but then see how that plays out, and there'll be at least some coming. And then the other update from her that was really good was Aurora Place. So we've got 4 or 5 people in there right now. They hope to be by the end of March up to full capacity. So that's really coming online. It's been a super slow start, but it's great to see it getting there now. As Councillor Franco mentioned, we had breakfast with Tim Beckhuse the other day from FPX Nickel. I think it's really good to have those early discussions, and we're talking about, things like how do we instill the community benefits at that early junior stage so that when it gets bought out by a major or a second major later on, that's enshrined in that project. And they're totally on board with that. So I really look forward to that discussion evolving, and then how can we put that on other projects? Because everything is good news when it's small, and it's great news when it's a little bit bigger, and then it kind of fizzles out and you don't get what you expect, is the way most of these projects work, right? So how do we build that in from the beginning? Had a good chat with Val Erickson, of course, when Stephen Dean, when I had a chat with him at the Resources Forum, really pushing how do we transition people. He said, I want your mill workers, I want your loggers, so now's the time to show that the meat is actually there. And when Fraser Lake Sawmills is going down, how do we transition those guys? So I'm really excited. I know Councillor Frankel's had a chat with Val too. I brought him the same resources as I have, and we're going to be doing some reading. And I'm working on that transition piece is going to be so key to us, that what is needed to go from X in the logging industry or sawmill to Y in a mine. And yeah, I'll be at the transition meeting in Fraser Lake again tomorrow. My plan is to be in person. This is an important work site for us. And I think it owes that being in person rather than taking place online. So I will be continuing to do that. Rio Tinto community leaders meeting. I texted out to you guys as it was going on. I mean, pretty dismal looking. The reservoir is low. There's 60-something% snowpack in the reservoir area, 50-something in the Notley system. It's just going to be a low year. So preparing for that again, and it's going to be a tough year to be a fish.
27.90.
Yeah, just unreal. And that's it for me. And we don't have to move that anymore. So we will move on. So we have, oh, sorry, Cindy.
Sorry, just back to your discussions with Artemis.
Yeah.
Like, is the camp, so considering the transitioning piece, because their jobs are camp jobs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is it a 2-week camp or a 1 week?
Talking to Stephen, it isn't concrete yet. Is that where you guys?
There's a suite of work.
Yeah.
Kind of arrangements going from there. They'll look at it based on kind of the needs of the staff, but they'll be flexible to have like the 7 in, 7 out. So it'll be a range.
Okay.
What at least the left means that we.
Okay.
I think the industry really needs, like the mayor said, the industry needs to say, a turnout operator at the sawmill can do X at the mill. The computer, the debarker operator can do what at the mill. And both Artemis and FPX Nickel says that that's an amazing idea. So we need to get all the mill jobs and then all of these jobs and then work together
In
to,
line.
so that you can hand it to somebody, because nobody knows,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
So we need to get that ready.
Yeah.
And then presentation was last week, one of the fellows that was a First Nations fellow out of Stalatten or Notley.
Yeah, good quote.
Was in the forest industry, operated equipment, and he said the transition from operating that piece of equipment to operating a piece of equipment there, super easy, super smooth. So that was really great to hear.
Good testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I just think those time, like the time period in camp is a critical piece for our community as well, because it's much easier to live.
That's recognized,
Yeah.
but the message from Stephen Dean was find me the employees and I'll do
We'll
whatever shift
talk
you
about
want.
Exactly.
It's
That's good.
finding the employees is the
Find
problem.
them here.
It's great. Good news. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Everybody's good? Okay. Council priorities, we have that on there just to remind us of what we're aiming for. Release from confidential. Do you have a motion on that?
It's just.
Okay, so we've got that for information. Correspondence 9.1, camping at the baseball fields. Can't keep up. So everybody's had a chance to read that. Go ahead, Councillor Martins.
I was glad to see Sergeant Kevin today stay here too for this. I was gonna ask him about this. This is, you haven't got an agenda in front of you, but this is about camping at the ball fields for tournaments, and I thought, good guy to have in a meeting, like, you know, might have a little bearing on how it goes, you know, like, is that, you know, in your years of doing it, is that always, is it a big problem? Like, do parties get out of hand at the campgrounds when they're playing baseball? And I mean, there's kids and young people and different teams in different cities, and demographic is probably pretty wide for age group. You know, I'm just curious what your take is on if that's a good idea or a bad idea.
I think it really revolves around what kind of a event it is. So is it a beer league? Is it a family event? You know, and if there's a beer garden associated, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, if there's a beer garden associated, you know, there has to be a security plan, et cetera. So it just really depends on what the makeup of it is. I would say that, yeah, there's always potential for there being issues, but by and large, a sporting event, if it's properly managed, it should be okay.
Yep, good. That's a good
If
answer.
that
for
makes
sure.
sense, yeah.
Yep, thanks.
Is that a?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a. I didn't, sorry. Yeah, I just found this, I think a good thing to do would be to understand why camping at our campground or at the ball fields was stopped, or why it hasn't been allowed. And if we're going to continue to do that, I think it's important to communicate that to folks, you know, the reasons behind that, because so I just wanted it brought forward because I think it's important. I'd like to see a response to that.
Any of the other old councillors want to comment on that?
Thanks for looking at me, your worship. Back in the day, Councillor Vandola and I used to stay at Ball Diamonds all of the time when we went to other communities, and yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't mind asking some more questions. I am in favor of having this down there with the proper setup. It used to be behind Diamond 4. Now we have a problem there that not a problem, it's a good problem that we have a skateboard park. So, you know, if there's a proper location, I think it's a good thing to do. But, you know, I think we do have to stay on top of the drinking of alcohol at these facilities. They're our facilities, but if you consider the trailer or the camper that they're staying in as theirs, maybe it's a different story. I don't know, but I'm a fan, but I don't mind asking a few more questions just to make sure. Because I think the next question would be is, do we let the reunion group stay there as well? Because they're looking for places. So to me, there's a possibility of expanding that.
Yeah, I agree with you too. And it's going to set a precedence for future applications, no question. If it wasn't allowed in the past and then we start allowing it, I think Sergeant's answer was good. Like if it has to be a bit of a security plan in place, and if an application comes with that, we must have a plan for security and a couple of phone numbers. Somebody has to take responsibility for it. And I really think we have to have an insurance policy with the District of Vanderhoof as additional name insured on it. They're going to do that. Like, it's a funny world, you know, like if somebody falls over there and hurts themselves really bad or worse, you know, the DOV is going to be listed on that lawsuit. Absolutely. So I think, you know, a security plan in place and a copy of the insurance naming us as additional names insured. Not personally, but just DOV.
Yeah, no, I like Councillor Frankel, I played softball a lot of years, gone to lots of different communities, camped at the sites, and it was all good. Now, the only thing for me is I'm totally supportive of this, other than not sure what the plan is for washroom facilities, you know, because if you have lots of people in tents, they're gonna need a place to clean up and do their business. And currently at the sites down there right now, I think there's one little, you know, kind of a pit toilet there, right? So that, you know, if you're having, you know, a 48 team event like we did in the past, that won't cut it, you know, so.
So, yeah, I concur with the other councillors here that I would like to see it continue. I've before the skateboard park went in and people used to utilize that area quite a bit. I'd cousins come down from Terrace and I'd come down and visit with them in there, and everybody seemed to be pretty well, like it didn't ever seem to get out of hand while I was down there. And honestly, if something could get out of hand, my cousins could probably do that, but they didn't, and everything handled itself quite well. So, yeah, I throw my support behind that with the cautions that Councillor Martin's brought up as well.
Yeah, I remember some of this conversation before, and I think that goes back to, yeah, we can all sit around the table right now, go, yeah, it sounds good. Sounds like a good time. And I do remember some incidents that did happen, and that's why I can't name them specifically, and I wouldn't want to anyway, but I think we have to go into this with our eyes wide open. I would like to see the opportunity to do that again, but what are all the pieces we need to know about? Like in some of them have been listed, but I think before we do that, we need to make sure that we've checked all those things off. It is in an area too that people could start talking about NIMBY and other pieces. And what are we going to allow? Is it just trailers? Is it going to be tents? Is it going to be this? You know, and the safety thing is a big deal, right? And it could be going along really well, and then just the wrong group shows up because it's a party and somebody has some logs that are burning up, and now we've got a nice hot summer and we're by the trees. And anyway, I'm sounding negative. I'm just saying before we go there, we need to really plan ahead and go, what are the things that can go wrong here? Because that's why I got stopped, right? And I think I'm forgetting about some of those specific things, but it happened. And there's a lot of years where there wasn't issues. There are a lot of years there were some really good parties down there that nowadays probably would be stopped because it got a little too good. So let's not go in there with our eyes shut. Not as old as you, Brian. I think like you as a wise old man.
You know what? When the young guy around the table has this much gray hair, it doesn't matter what age you are. I'll just put my 2 cents in. This wasn't banned lightly. There were serious incidents. There was a serious mess left behind. There were a sea of beer cans. it was not a safe place. What I would suggest we do is we ask staff to put this on our next agenda, and we'll maybe invite Brenda to come and speak to it, and we can have a fulsome discussion there over those concerns.
I hesitate to add more to our staff.
Yeah. With it.
And maybe some other communities that have been doing a good job of hosting and doing that type of thing that we're looking at, because there is a reason why small communities have stopped doing it. It goes back to that liability piece, right? We just need one thing to go sideways and then we're really in a lot of trouble there. So yeah, if we can find out someone, what are the things that you ensure aren't happening and what do you put in place, right? Because we could go meet with Brenda, but if it's too soon and we have no answers, right? Anyway. Yeah.
Costs our staff a lot of time and money on that cleanup on Monday. That's, they drive away Sunday night and look gross there Monday morning. That's.
So let's put that
Yeah.
next meeting. We'll have that as an agenda item and we'll flesh it out there. Okay, next FPX letter of support. Oh, isn't it? Oh, sorry. Todd Doherty's 988 poster. You wanted to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to. I think it's something that we need to do, and I don't mind putting it up in all of our facilities. So I'll make the motion, the draft motion, as outlined in his letter.
All in favor? Carried. FPX letter of support. Make a motion there, Brian? You got your mic on?
Make a motion, we support the letter as outlined.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Then the Exhibition Society letter of support. Have a seconder? Second. Any questions?
Can I clarify? So I heard from them late this afternoon and it is the grant is being done, this applied for this year, but the campground's going to be postponed to 2025 so they can rezone the property properly.
All in favor? Carried. That was it, right? Okay, we're adjourned.